Welcome back to Yerushalmi Yoma. We are Lamed Hey Amid Base. We are up to Rabbi Yosa. Okay. Now we brought just now Rabbi Bun Ba'achia, and he brought a drasha about you've got the kaporos which has sprinkling, and in front of the kaporos, and the blood of the par above. You don't actually go on the kaporos, and not on the top of it. It doesn't have to touch the kaporos. So also the kaporos mentioned with the goat above. Again, is not on the actual part, not on the roof of it, doesn't need to be touching the kaporos. So, Rabbi Yosa, Mizvah Savo, the thought of Rabbi Bun Ba'achia, the Hazayah Sayeh, Shalmala, the Meidos, Mazayas Par Shalmala. Remember, there's 1 up and 7 down. And you have 1 up, 7 down for the par, and 1 up and 7 down for the goat. He says, to work out the blood applications of the goat below, the 7 below, they are learnt from the sprinkling of the par shalamatam, from the 7 down of the par. So remember, you have 1 up and 7 down with both, so the 7 down of the goat are learnt from the 7 down of the par. Now,
what are you saying? Of the sprinkling?
The sprinkling, there's 1 up and 7 down.
Yeah.
Right? Now we do it towards the Oron, and then you do it towards the Paroches. Right? So he says like this. Now with the goat of the sire, it says, his eyes are ala kaporos. You shall sprinkle it on the kaporos here, one above. And when the pasuk finishes off, lifnei kaporos, ein yadea, kama, I don't know how much it is. I'm not told how many. So Harini done, so we'll say we'll have learned from elsewhere. Nema matan damim b'pala matan. We know there's 7 sprinklings down with the bull. But nema matan damim b'sayla matan. There's sprinklings down with the goat. Ma matan damim amurin b'pala matan sheva. Now we know the bull is 7 down. He said from now kaporos. So in front of the paroches, as it were, the kaporos, the division between the Kodesh Kodashim and the Heichal, you should sprinkle 7 times from the blood. Af matan damim amurin b'sayla matan. So the 7 down with the goat is sheva, again is 7 sprinklings. Or perhaps maybe it's this way. Nemru damim lemalon. We have blood application for the goat above, 1 up. The nemru damim lematon, and we have 7 down. Ma damim morin by lemalon, the 1 up with the goat. We know it says 1. We know there's 1 of that. Av matan damim morin by lematon. Maybe the 7 down. Oh achas. Maybe there's also 1. How do you know there's 7? Maybe there's 1 up, is 1 down. So what are we going to compare it to? Nira, let me daima. What is more comparable? Is it to the par below, where there was 7, or the dam of the sire above, where there was 1? So donin shalamatan, whatever's below, we learn from below. So if there's 7 par below, 7 of the bull below, so we say the 7 of the goat below. But ain't donin shalamatan mishal malon. We don't learn what's below from what's above. Maybe say like this, done in Damasai. Look, maybe goat should be learned from goat. And just 1 up, so maybe 1 down. Why learn from a different carbon? Talmud says, also, you do the blood kasha, also the dam like you did the pa. Extra words. You have to do exactly like the pa. It's telling you the number of sprinklings should be identical to the pa. Ma'adam hapa lematam sheva. Well, there is 7 down. After Masai lematam sheva. So also with the goat is 7 down. But how many of the bull are up? That also we don't know. We know there's 1 of the goats up, but we don't know how many of the bull are up. So now, we know with the goat there's 1 up, and there's something of blood with the power up above. So let's say well, the goat there's 1 up, achas. So also with the power is 1 up. Maybe say no. You have blood below with the power. We know there's 7. There's a reference to blood above. Now we don't know how much. Well, maybe I'll say if it's 7 down, maybe it's 7 up. Maybe it's 7 up. He says, Nira, by the way, a lot of people I know who people have that drink on Shabbos, yeah? Because Shabbos is 7th day, so they have 7 up. So, Nira, let me dive. So what does it compare to? He says, Danin Shanamana and Shanamana. We'll compare what's up to elsewhere what's up. So the 7 of the par, because there's 7 of the goat, which is up. We don't learn what's above from what's below. So we don't say, there's 1 with the par below, so there should be 1 up. No, we don't say that. Maybe going this way. Let's learn bull from bull. If there's 1 down, maybe there should be 1 up. Why learn from the goat? That's why he says no. You have to do it like you do with a par. Extra words. And then it says clearly you have to sprinkle from the goat. Kenega the kapares above and below. An extra wording. But it's telling you shakal mass of all the acts of the goat should be shown identical to the par. Up and down. Ma dama par the matan sheva. So the dama par is 7 down. After Masai the matan sheva. So the goat is 7 down. Ma dama sai the malanachas. The goat is 1 up. After ma par the malanachas. So the par as well is 1 up. Now, after sprinkling the Kodesh Kedoshim, the Cohen goes towards the Heichal. And he's sprinkling from the par and the Sayer on the isis until now, actually, Kaperes, we've been referring to, it seems like we're referring to the Oren, the sprinklings in front of the Oren, not on the Parechas, separating, not what I said before. It seems this is all referring to the Oren sprinklings. Now, we're going back into the Heichal, and we're sprinkling on the Parechas. So the word HaKodesh, which is talking about the Heichal, etc., and so you should do to the Moed. It tells me the Kohen Gadol says he sprinkles on the Parechas facing the Kodesh, which is facing the Aron. Now, the Torah says after all the sprinkling, he leaves the Mizbeach Asher Lifnei Hashem. That's the golden Mizbeach, not the outer one. Now, why it says he leaves it? He was in the Heichal when he's sprinkling on the Parechas, and now he's still in the Heichal. You find a parachatos which you bring. The Kohen Gadol is anointed with the anointing oil. Let's say he made a mistake himself, right? And he paskel on the Kore's din, and people followed him, right? Parahelam Dava, or parachatos, the Sanhedrin made a mistake. Now that one, Shehu Aymed Chus Mizbeach, there he stands outside, in the east of the inner Mizbeach, between him and the pest and the entrance. Of Mazeh la Paroches B'shashu Mazeh. He sprinkles on the Parechas when he's sprinkling. Yachalav Zakein. Maybe here the Par Messiah, maybe he has to stand from the east of the golden Mizbeach, more towards the entrance, between and the right Tabalayim. That's why it says no. But Yasa Elam Mizbeach. So where was he standing before that when he sprinkled? You have to tell me Lifnim in the Mizbeach. He was standing in front of the Mizbeach, to the west of the Mizbeach, and now when he wants to sprinkle on the golden Mizbeach, the inner one, he leaves from being inside the Mizbeach, further in, and he goes on Mechutz, like to the east side. So he has to basically cross over past the golden Mizbeach and carry on. So maybe we're talking about the outside Mizbeach, the Azara with the outside Mizbeach. Tamalami says, it's only talking about the inner Mizbeach, which is the Hashem. And the word Vayatza means until now he was west of the Mizbeach when he sprinkled, and now he comes back, and now the Mizbeach is on the east of the Mizbeach. Now I can't wait him, and they argue, if the blood has to touch, not touch. I can't wait him, but Pa Mashiach Ve'eda by Pa Helam Dava. We sprinkle the 7 sprinklings in the Heichal towards the Parechas. Doesn't have to touch. Ma'apligin, what's the argument? But Pavasash Yom Kippurim, when you're sprinkling the blood, the Kodesh Kedoshim in the Heichal, does it need to touch or not? That's the question. Some say some say yes, some say no. I saw in Rome, Malay, the Parechas full of blood. I said, this must be from the blood of the Par and the Messiah, that the Kohen Gedolim Shahayu Mazin Alav Yom Kippurim. This tells me so that he should touch the Parechas. And that's the question on the one who says he doesn't. If you're going to tell me that he doesn't have to actually negea, it doesn't have to touch, and the word drops there, nevertheless, in Noga, if it did touch, it touched. It doesn't matter. So the sprinkling is kosher whether it touched or not. And sometimes it happened the blood did touch. Now, what about the korbanos the rest of the year? Now, if the Cohen receives the blood in a kli sharis, and after that, nasan mikli sharis l'tach kli chol, you then put it in a non-holy vessel, pasal, he's disqualified the blood. And he has to pour it out back into a kli kodesh to take it to the mizbeach. Right? He has to pour it again into a kli kodesh to take it to the mizbeach. Return it back to a kli kodesh. Now, it's only if you pour it into kli chodesh pasal until he pours it back. If you pour it into another holy vessel, low pasal, that wouldn't disqualify. Our Mishnah says this clearly because we've learned if you pour the blood of the par, which was until now, so it was the dam par, and you now pour it into the goat blood in the second container. And Mishnah carries on, you go to the inner mizbeach and you sprinkle the blood. So it says the avodah is kosher, even though now it's in a separate keli than when it was received. What proof is there from this? I mean, after the Mishnah says you poured the par into the goat, then it carries on, you put the mizrak, the full keli, into the empty one. Now what does that mean? It sounds like the goat blood, which is now full of both bloods, you pour it into an empty keli, which until now had the par blood. You hear that? Now this has got everything in it. You're putting it back into the keli which had the par blood before. And through that, the dama par and dama sayer, they are both in the kli sharis where they were received first. Even if the dama par is mixed with the dama sayer in the keli of the goat, nevertheless, now it's put back into a kli of dama par, and like the dama par is within its keli. And the reason why you need to do this is because avodah is not kosher unless the dam was found in a keli it was received with. What do we see here? This is not like Rav Chagai wanted to prove. This seems to be the opposite. So we're saying now it's fine to go back into the other keli. Right? So Rav Mana said, when the Mishnah said you empty mole berekan, it doesn't mean you put the keli which is now full into the one which was full before, which is now empty. Neymar will say, no, this is what it means. First, when you mix the blood, you pour the blood of the dama par, which was full, l'tach damasai, into the goat blood, which is considered empty as respect to the par of the blood of the par. There's much less in there. The Mishnah never said you put the empty one the full one back into an empty one. Didn't say that. Now, after you pour the blood of the par into the sayer, you sprinkle from the mixture of the par and the sayer from another keli. From the keli of the goat on the golden mizbeach. Let's see this again. After you've mixed the blood par into the goat blood, the par blood into the goat blood, you sprinkle from the mixture from one keli of the sayer onto the golden mizbeach. So he's not saying you're putting it back. You hear that? You've mixed them, and now you're going to sprinkle from that. And it comes out that pouring blood from the keli it was received into another kli kodesh would not be a problem. Rosenwood. Another way of learning. He says, when we're telling you that, the Kohen Gadol did two actions here. To mix, you got the blood of the par and the blood of the goat. So first, Ira dama par, he poured the par blood into the tach damasai, into the second container which had the goat blood. And that's also called male. That's called full. It's not really less than what's in the par blood. No, the goat blood is also a full keli. Not like Reb Mona wanted to say that it's called empty compared to the par blood. No. Mikam after you poured the par blood into the goat blood, you mixed them properly by pouring that whole mixture into another empty vessel, so it should be thoroughly mixed. So the first pouring of the par into the sayer, they weren't mixed well. When you pour it now into another empty vessel, you hear that? By pouring into another empty vessel, that's when they mix. You're pouring it back into another keli, which in the beginning had the dama par before you poured it into the dama sayer. So in the end of the matter, the dam of the sayer is not in the keli which was received. It's in a keli where the par was received. So you're going to pour it now back into the keli of the bull. You hear that? So you took the bull blood, pouring the goat blood, and now you're pouring it back. To mix it well, you're pouring it back into the keli that the bull blood was received in. And according to this, you understand, it says in the Mishnah, you're pouring blood from a Kli HaKodesh, it's received, to another Kli Kodesh, it doesn't puzzle. Because now you're pouring it back into where the bull blood was all along. Okay. Now, a Kohen Gadol pours the blood of the bull into the blood of the goat before he goes to the Mizbeach to sprinkle. Okay. How do I know? You have to pour one of the bloods into the other one and mix them well before you put it on the Mizbeach. It says, you put the blood of the bull and the goat on the corners of the Mizbeach. So what's it telling me? You have to put from this blood, they must be mixed by this point, right? But despite all this, I might say, maybe you sprinkle each one separately. Maybe you sprinkle all the blood separately on the Mizbeach. Who says you mix them? He provides a kapara on the corners once a year from the Chatzas HaKippurim. Once a year is a kapara on the corners of Mizbeach by the power of the blood of the par and the blood of the goat when they are mixed. He doesn't create two forgivenesses, it's got to be one. You hear that? It's not twice a year, it's once a year. So the blood has to be mixed because it's one application. Maybe I'll say, Dama Pa Bachas Bashana. Maybe look, the bull blood is once a year. Not twice a year. But maybe also the goat, once a year. How do you know once a year is on the two together? Maybe once a year on the blood, or the Pa, and once a year the blood of the goat. So Gemara answers, Tani de Yerushalmi, Midam Chatzas HaKippurim Achas Bashana Yechaper Alav LeDorotechem. What do we see from this? It'll be once a year. Achas Bashana Mechaper is that's it. It's once a year on the corners of Mizbeach. Not twice a year. Yeah, it's once a year, not twice a year. Okay. After these four applications on the four corners of the golden Mizbeach, then you sprinkle from this mixture 7 times on the roof of the Mizbeach. Right? 7 times on the roof. Yeah, you had 8 with the par and the goat in the Holy of Holies. You had 8 on the Paroches, that's 32. Then we had 4 on the 4 corners, 36. Now with the last 7, which is on the base of the small Mizbeach. Now, the Kohen Gadol makes them together before he put them on the corners. There is someone who argues and says the Dama Pa and the side and the corners were separately done. Now, look, everyone agrees. The 7 sprinklings below the corners, that's the 7 on the roof of the Mizbeach, that has to be mixed together, the blood of the Pa and the goat. They have to be mixed. The Chassidus says, Sheva, you do the sprinkling Sheva, it's only 7, not 14. Right? Now, so according to one opinion now, the blood of the Pa and the blood of the goat went to the corners separately, and you mix them for the last 7. Now what happens if Kibel Midama Pa, if you receive the blood of the Pa Bishlosha Koses in 3 separate cups, Midama Sai Bishlosha Koses and the goat in 3 separate cups, and your intention was Liten Me'achad, to put one of each one of the Pa of the bull, one of the goat, ala Badin, between one cup of the Pa blood will go between the poles of the Aron. Me'achad, you have another cup of the bull blood, and that will go ala Paroches, on the Paroches there. Me'achad, and one other cup of the Pa blood will go on Mizbeach HaZahav, on the golden Mizbeach. You hear that? So you've got basically 3 cups for each animal, and you've got one application to do in the Holy Paroches, one on the Paroches, and then one on the Mizbeach now. So the question is, Ezo men zachu lahares, which one has to be mixed together with the other counterpart, right? Which is the one of the goat, for the sprinkling on the roof of the Mizbeach. Which of the 3 cups are you going to mix together with the other, with the one of the goat? Then the Gemara says, wait a minute. Yesh adam b'chasher chatzi kapara. Can you honestly receive the blood with intention to only do part of the forgiveness? That should be possible. If you receive the blood in 3 separate cups, and you're going to sprinkle each one from these separate sections with a separate cup, it should be possible. How can you tell me which one I should mix, or, for the Mizbeach? It shouldn't work. Elakeni. This is what you should have a question. Kibel midam par. You receive the blood of the par, bishloisha kaisos, in 3 separate cups. Midam asai bishloisha kaisos, and you receive the blood of the goat in 3 separate cups. Okay, and you want to take each cup for each stage, whatever it is. And in the end, you change your mind. Benasan me'achad, you took the matanos of 1 cup of the par and the blood of the goat ala badim, so that's the area in the oren. Me'achad, and 1 cup of the par and the goat al pareches, fair enough. Me'achad, and 1 cup of the par and the sair al mizbach hazav, on the golden mizbeach. And the question is, which one needs to be poured together for the sake of the gag of the mizbeach, for the roof of the mizbeach? So I've got 3 cups doing avodah, right? 1 in the kodesh kadoshim, 1 of the pareches, 1 on the corners. So which is the one that gets mixed with the other to go on the roof? So if looked at machlekes from Seira Rav Hila, this pargud got machlekes. If you have, it's similar to the goats of Hashem and Azazel. Higril. If the Kohen Gadol makes a lottery, shloisha zugais, 3 pairs of goats. You hear that? He makes a lottery with 3 pairs. So he's going to have 3 Lashem and 3 Lazazel. You hear that? 3 Lashem, 3 Lazazel. Now, what is his intention here? His intention is, Litin me'achad, well, one of the goats, Lashem, will go ala badim, will go between the Or and the 2 poles. And one of the goats, Lashem, will go al pareches, on the pareches. And one of the goats, Lashem, will go al mizbach hazam, the god of mizbach. So he has 3 goats Lazazel, 3 goats Lashem, and each one will be used for a different section. Right? Which is the corresponding goat that gets sent away? You hear that? You hear the question. He's got 3 Lashem goats here. Which is the parallel one that goes away and gets sent away? Is it the one that goes with the Holy of Holies blood? Is it the one that goes with the Pareches blood? Or is it the one that goes on the Mizbeach blood? Which is the one whose opposite gets sent away? Now, the machlekes depends on the apostle. A pasuk in Vayikra says, the goat that was a goa Azazel should be left before Hashem to provide a kapara to send it to Azazel to the midbar. Right? Rav Zeira Amar, lechaper alav, what is a kapara? What is providing the kapara here? Eshuhu mechaper by, the one that you're using the blood of kapara. Chavera, his friend, gets mishalach, gets sent away to Azazel. Eshe'ena mechaper, the one that doesn't provide a kapara, and chaver mishalach, the other one doesn't get sent away. Rav Hila Amar, he said, lechaper alav, eshuhu goymer by, the kapara, the one that finishes off the whole avodah. The other one gets sent away. The one that doesn't finish off doesn't get sent away. All 3 goats can be sent away. Each one is a partner of Asai Hashem that provided some of the forgiveness. He says the last one. The last one was most effective, right? The last one went on the Mizbeach. So its partner, the Lazazel goat that went with that, is the one should be sent away. Now, we had a question, which of the 3 cups you have to mix together for the sake of sprinkling on the roof of the Mizbeach, when the matanos were put in 3 different kalim, right? So here as well, the blood of the par and the goat, 3 separate cups, right? On the kapares, on the pareches, and the cause of the mizbeach. It's the same argument. All 3 can be mixed together. All 3. You only have to mix only the last one. The last one that went on the mizbeach, because that's the most important one. The last one that finished off the avodah. You hear that? The last one was the one that finished the avodah. That's the one you have to mix with Good. Okay. Now, what about after so let's follow the Kohen Gadol. He's put it on the four corners. He's put 7 on the top of the Mizbeach. What's next? You put it down the side of the outer Mizbeach. Right, down the foundation sides of the outer Mizbeach. He received the blood of the bull in 3 cups. If he received the blood of the goats in 3 cups. And if he did receive in 3 separate cups for the 3 different parts of the Avodah, you decide which one gets poured down the foundation of the big Mizbeach. Tiflukta is an argument, Rebbe and Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon. This bargain, they argue in a brisa, a similar story. Imagine a case where a chatas, you receive the blood in 4 cups. Nasan zeh, you put the blood of 1 cup. So you took from 1 on the mizbeach. So you basically took, what's it this? So Natan zeh echad, v'zeh echad, v'zeh echad. And so you got 4. Basically, each cup has got a bit of blood left. Yeah? Let's see this again. Chatas shekibel dama ba'aba kaisos. And Nasa mizeh, you took blood from the first one. Echad on the mizbeach. And zeh, you took another bit of blood in the second cup. Mizeh echad. And the 4th one. And each cup has got a bit left over. Menayin shekulam nishbachan, and he said, all are poured down the base of the mizbeach. It says, all his blood you shall pour to the foundation of the mizbeach. Let's say, you might say, even if you only did maybe if you only did from 1 cup, all 4 applications, and maybe you didn't use these other cups, maybe you could have nishbach, maybe are they all poured down the side? So it says, no, there's dama yishbach. It doesn't say kol damai. Only part of the blood is spilled. Okay, so how do you understand it? The blood that was taken, the 4 matanos, nishbach on the side, is poured down the foundation of the side, because that blood is all shiraim. The other 3 cups, nishbach and la'omer, they go in the stream. Yeah, they go in the canal, right? They don't go on the foundation of the side of the mizbeach. There was a canal, a stream that went through the Azara to Nachal Kidron. And that blood is not shirayim. That was like rejected. Divrei Rebbe, that's the view of Rebbe. Where do we learn? Even if you only gave from one of the 4 cups, all the 4 applications of a chatos, right? The 4 corners. And you didn't use the other 3. He says they all still get poured down the side of the mizbeach. So he says it's called dama yishmar. All the blood gets spilled. That tells me even the blood in the cups you didn't use is shirayim, and it gets poured down the side of the mizbeach. So how is that comparing to our argument? We've got a par and sayeh where you receive the blood in 3. There were 3 lots of blood received, and you put all matanos of 1 type. All the blood of the 3 cups go down the side. The blood is all shirai, even though the ones you didn't use. Nothing gets spilled on the side except the one they actually sprinkled with it. That dam in the cups, which are matanas adam of the kabbanos, that is shiraim. The blood in the other cups just goes in the canal. Now, what about a Kohen Gadol made a lottery on 3 goats, 3 pairs of goats, and he took 1 blood in the Kodesh Kodashim of the goat, and 2nd one on the Parochas, 3rd one on the golden mizbeach. Now, other more dinim about Chavrei Ami. What happens where there's more than 1 goat slaughtered to Hashem. So Chavrei Ami, Bnei Yeshiva said, Nispagel zeh, Nispagel zeh. Now, if one of the 2 goats was pigul, then there's din pigul on the other one. Yeah, it automatically goes on the other goats as well. If you lost the pieces, the limbs of one of the goats before you sprinkle the blood, it's not possible for sprinkling. You can sprinkle the blood relying on the imurim of the other goats. Now, also, there's a machlokes between Rebbe and the Chachamim. Now, what happens if the blood of the two karbonos got mixed up. Now, according to Rebbe, you have to have a shear, an amount of blood of the mixture on the mizbeach. It's got to be kedei matana. It's got to be a substantial amount. According to the Chachamim, even the kosher is good enough, right? And the matana, it can be 2 karbonos, even the smallest amount. Now, hakomodim. So everyone agrees. But par Mashiach, be'eda. So you got the par Mashiach or par Ha'elam Dava. You have to bring a par. And if, let's say, they slaughtered 2 animals for the same sin, and the blood got mixed up, Shehei Sham, there's got to be enough that matana achas mishel shnein, 1 application from the 2 bloods. You don't have to have enough for 2 applications. 1 application is enough. Chavraya, Bnei Yeshiva also said, Kesherin shenis arvu b'psolin. You got a situation: blood of kosher animals mixed with blood which is pasul, and it's put on the mizbeach. So the matana of dam, the application from that blood is not kosher. Ad sheyehei, there's got to be enough. Matana achas mishal kosher. There's got to be enough of 1 application from the kosher blood. You have to disregard the pasul blood. There's got to be enough from the kosher blood. Ma'apligim. So where's the argument, Rebbe and Chachamim? Bedam shnei chata'is. You got blood of 2 chata'is that got mixed up. Shenis arvu. Rebbe says, I say, Ryan is Adam. You imagine the blood of this mixture in yeshba. If there is enough in each application, kedei matana achas, at least 1 application from Zeh, from this carbon, kedei matana achas mizeh, and 1 from that carbon. So you got enough for 2 applications, then it's kosher. Im lav, if it's not enough, then it's possible. Even if all the blood you have is at a matana achas, 1 application, mishel shnein, from the 2 chatos, you've only got 1, it's still okay. Kosher, each one is kosher. So what are they arguing? So one says if you've got 2 animals, you need to have enough blood applications, 2 applications. The other one said 1 is enough. So what are they arguing? According to Rebbe, yes, shir matanis, there is an amount you need for blood applications. Therefore, you've got 2 animals, you've got to have double that amount. It's got to be the right amount. According to the Chachamim, ein shiur lematanos. There is no limit, no minimal limit for blood applications. Even the smallest amount is kosher. So you have 2 karbanos, there's no share how much you need for each carbon, whatever it is. 1 matana is enough for both karbanos. So now, based on what we've said, Rebbe agrees, if the blood, let's say, of 2 par Cohen Mashiach or 2 par Eda was slaughtered for the same Avera, in order to give 1 matana from the mixture for 2, Hadar, this tells me nispagal zeh. If one was piggle, the other was piggle, the Avda and Murim Shazeh, Mazan and Murim Shazeh, they're connected. And therefore, if you lost the Murim of one, you can still sprinkle the blood based on the Murim of the other. That's what the Bnei Yeshiva said as far as the 2 goats Hashem that were slaughtered on Yom Kippur. Okay, Rabbi said we'll stop here. Okay? I think I'll stop here today.